I'd like to welcome everybody to the to our live webinar. This is our third live webinar here about Honduras. And if everybody can hear me, can I just get maybe Sofia Cerrato to say yes, she can see me and hear me, because I know she's logged in. She can just put that in the chat box so we know we're all good to go and we can commence. So Patricia, if you can just type in the box so you can hear me and see me, and we can commence tonight's webinar. I can see you and hear you. Perfect. Thank you very much. So we are going to begin. I'd like to welcome our special guest tonight. We have the Ambassador of Honduras, Sofia Cerrato, in the bottom corner here. And we have Director of Promotions for Honduras, Mario Aguiar from Florida. He's joining the program tonight. So we welcome both of you to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for having us.
I'm going to ask you guys a whole bunch of questions concerning about Honduras here tonight. And I'll start off first. You know, we are having our developments in Trujillo, Honduras, specifically in Santa Fe. We fell in love with Honduras along with a lot of our clients that have come down and visited. We are planning big things for the area with 2 huge developments. And tonight is a more of an information seminar webinar that's going to be talking more about Honduras and why people should choose to move to Honduras in particular. So less about our project and more about why Honduras. So let's begin. The question I have is why Honduras, and why should people contemplate moving to Honduras? Mario?
Well, thank you for having us. Honduras is the destination that has been coming up in the past couple of years, and it's been growing. It's very diverse, very friendly. You've seen a lot of growing in different areas, better connections. So making it easier to connect from any part, pretty much of the North American market. Honduras has great beaches, archaeological sites, great culture. It also is a very inexpensive country when you compare it to other countries. So the dollar goes far, and the Canadian dollar goes far as well. So it makes it very, very appealing in that case.
I know that Honduras has basically the weather kind of changes depending on where you go. I know the northern coast where we are, the rainy season is between September all the way up to the end of December. When is the best time of year to visit Honduras? Mario?
Well, there's 2 seasons in Honduras actually. There's a wet season and a dry season. The dry season runs pretty much from mid-November all the way down through May. And then you have what we can call the wet season, or the rainy season, that starts in the month of May. But it doesn't get strong rains until sometime after August. So June, July, August, it's summer rains, those typical rains that will rain for maybe half hour, sun comes back up and nothing happens. But the strongest months are September and October. So if you look at it that way, it's a Caribbean coast country too, so it's hot during the whole year. We average somewhere roughly above 80 degrees year-round. And if you want to stay away from the wet season, it's just 2.5 months pretty much. But to answer your question, you know, it's always a good time to come to Honduras, to be honest with you. But if you're looking at planning, you probably want to stay away probably from September and October.
Okay. I know that we're getting a lot of echo on the program right now. If everybody can just turn down their speakers, both Mario and Sofia, if you could just turn down your speakers just a little bit, that would probably help out as well. And I just did the same. Now, remember everyone here tonight, it is a live webinar. So if you'd like to ask some questions, just go to the chat box and you can ask your questions, and I'll be more than happy to ask them for you. And when you do that, please let me know exactly where you're asking these questions from. So if you can state your city, town, state, and put your names, and I'll be more than happy to ask the questions. Okay. What I'm going to do here, wait, let me see here. Your speaker is getting a lot of feedback and echo. So am I still? Hopefully the echo is moving right now. So Phil and Suzanne Borvis, they're from Calgary, Alberta. But you guys haven't given me a question. So if you can, type in your questions. In the meantime, I'll move on, and I'm going to ask our first question to the Ambassador, Sofia Cerrato, who is kind enough to join us here tonight. We thank her once again. The question that I have is residency. A lot of our clientele want to know about residency. What does one have to do to become a resident of Honduras, Sofia?
Well, there is a process to be done, and we actually have it in our website so that it can be with step-by-step process. It's on the website www.embassyhonduras.ca. It's a long process for me to explain. There's some paperwork you have to do. You have to legalize many documents. We will do that at the embassy for you. And there's some paperwork you have to do back in Honduras. But I'm more than welcome to answer each and single thing that you may want to ask. You can send them to my email. It's ambassador@embassyhonduras.ca, and I'll go through the steps one by one, and it'll be much easier. I know that at the moment it is hard because you only get a 90-day stay. And I know it was something that the president wanted to fix for those Canadian residents who are buying homes in Honduras, and to let them stay more time in our country. So we are trying to work on that also.
Okay, Sofia, if you can kindly speak up a little bit. I think people are finding it a little bit difficult to hear you. If you didn't hear Sofia too much in that last response, she asked you, if you can, all the listeners there tonight and viewers, to email her, and she'll be more than happy to answer your emails when it comes to residency. If you can kindly repeat your email address again, Sofia, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. It's ambassador@embassyhonduras.ca.
All right, thank you very much. Now, what is it about Honduras that's making it so lucrative for Canadians to visit and to possibly purchase properties there and to live there and retire there? Mario?
Well, one of the key things that, as I mentioned before, the cost of living is not as high as it is here in the, either in the States where I'm at or in Canada where you're at. Trujillo, La Ceiba, Tela, all these north coastal cities have been seeing a lot of retirees there because one is very friendly. The weather, again, is 80+ degrees year-round. It's becoming easier to get residency, like the ambassador says. There is a process, but it is easy to become once you have all the paperwork that you need to present. The islands have also seen a growth, even though the cost of living in the islands might be a little bit higher than it is on mainland Honduras. One of the things that you're trying to see is because one is very friendly, people are very open, for visitors, and in this case for retirees or somebody who wants to retire in general. And in the cost of living, obviously it makes a big difference. A lot of people retire on a certain plan, an economical plan, and sometimes the cost of living here is so high that down there you can live sometimes with even half of the money that you spend here. So those factors are that. Also friendly laws, making it easy for people to purchase land, great developments. You need great developments, where people want to buy, somewhere where their property value is going to maintain or go up, and those are all key factors in weighing in where you're gonna live and retire.
Now, thank you very much for that answer. Now, a question for you. A lot of people are wondering what a cruise ship terminal will do for an area. And we know what it's done for Roatan, for example, with 2 cruise ship terminals. Now, one cruise ship terminal named the Banana Coast Terminal is now open in Trujillo. What does a cruise ship terminal do for an area?
Well, you mentioned Roatan. Roatan in 2001, 2002 had roughly about 135,000 cruise passengers. Right now, Roatan is close to 900,000 cruise passengers on a yearly basis. Those are 900,000 people who come into the island at any given time of the year and see firsthand all the conditions of the island. They see, what the island has to offer. This is pretty much a window of advertising, of promoting a destination. It's not a secret if you look at the whole scheme of Central America, a lot of countries are investing heavily to attract cruise travel. One of the reasons is because cruise travel is one of the few segments that, even though through all the economical crisis, had a growth. So with having a terminal in Trujillo, in this case, which I've been informed, and this is information given already, made official, that starting October this year, they're getting the first port calls. They have 27 port calls throughout October and next year. That's going to give Trujillo a whole different dimension. One, it brings economic growth. A lot of jobs are created. If you have property, you have, obviously it goes up because there's a lot greater demand. So going back to the question, what's it going to bring? It's going to be economic stability. It's going to be economic growth. It's going to be a window to showcase, for Trujillo to showcase its products. You have a ship that at any given day you get 3,000 plus passengers, plus crew. The crew is a very significant part of the economical growth that cruise travel has, because the crew members come on a weekly basis. They become your ambassadors, and they become your people who go out and talk about these sports. So Trujillo is going to see a different growth. I'm happy to inform that starting October, we are going to see cruise ships in Trujillo. That's already a given. And we hope that better things lay ahead for Trujillo in the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you. I have a question here from Patricia Cerrato from Vaughan, Ontario. This is a question for Sofia Cerrato. Can a Canadian hold dual citizenship in Honduras? Sofia? I think Sofia's frozen right now. So I'm going to wait for her to come back on the line. Give me one quick second here and see if we can get Sofia going again. Her camera just froze. Mary, can you answer that question, or is it best that we speak to Sofia?
Well, I'm pretty sure the ambassador will give you a little bit more details, but I know for a fact in Honduras is recognized as dual citizenship. I know for a fact for somebody who holds an American passport to hold a Honduran citizenship as well. So dual citizenship is recognized within the country. I know there's a legality to it. I know there's a process, and I'm pretty sure the ambassador could give you more details on that. But I believe that should not be a problem. That's something that's a given.
Sofia, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I missed everything else.
Okay, no problem. The question was from Patricia Cerrato from Vaughan, Ontario, and her question was, can a Canadian hold dual citizenship?
No, you can't.
So you cannot?
No, you can't.
Okay. I have another question here from Sean Daly. Once again, everyone out there, if you can, please let us know where you're messaging us from. If you could just state your city, state, that'd be great. So Sean Daly's question is, how long before you can expect an international airport? And I'm assuming, Sean, you're talking about Trujillo. So Mario, we were talking about this before we came on live. Mario, if you can just answer that question. Do you expect there to be an international airport in Trujillo maybe in the near future?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into play, and I'll be honest with you. Honduras is in a very privileged situation. Honduras has 4 international airports as we speak right now. Has an airport in San Pedro, Tegucigalpa, La Ceiba, and Roatan. It's not very common for a country of that size to have 4 international airports. To say that Trujillo is going to have an international airport, there's a lot of factors that go into play. I don't see it in the short future. You got to remember that you also have to feed the flight both ways, not only the inbound but the outbound. You have an international airport just about a couple of hours away from Trujillo. So those are factors that make it a little bit complicated. You never say never. It could happen, but not in the short future. But you got to look at the whole aspect of the growth in the surroundings of Trujillo. And I tell you what, Trujillo's in a very unique situation because you have an international airport very close. You also have a landing strip in Trujillo, which the plan is in the future to better that landing strip, to have better connections within the country. But going back, I don't see it in the short future, but you never know. Something in the future might happen.
I do have a question here from Phil and Suzanne Borvis. Their question is, as you probably know, Panama has taken steps to facilitate retirement in Panama by expats or for expats. Is Honduras considering looking at similar plans? Sofia?
Um, it is something that we have asked to be discussed. Yes, to be able to facilitate all those Canadians who are wanting to retire in Honduras.
Can you be a little bit more specific on what type of plans are in the works?
Well, it's basically issues on the time of stay and the rights they can have as owners of homes in the country.
Okay. I have a question here from Gregorio Gonzalez, who's just recently became a community owner at the NJOI Trujillo, NJOI Santa Fe area. Can a U.S. citizen hold dual citizenship? From Wadsworth, Ohio. I'm not sure if you're able to answer this question, Sophia, but he's asking about U.S. citizens. Are they able to hold dual citizenship?
There are no double treaties for citizenship between United States and Honduras.
Okay. Let me just, I said something earlier with the ambassador froze, the screen froze. And the dual citizenship is only held, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, is when a Honduran who lives in Canada or lives in the U.S. becomes a citizen of that particular country. They never lose their citizenship in Honduras. So they could actually hold both citizenship, but you have to be born in Honduras in order to hold the dual citizenship.
That's right.
Okay.
It's not for a U.S. citizen.
Okay. The question I have right now, and this is a question that it's a serious question because we get faced with this question everywhere we go, and we have clients at times that reserve a lot from us, then go home, hop on the internet, and then cancel their reservation almost 24 hours later once they start doing their research. We all know about the negative publicity on the internet that Honduras has. What is the government of Honduras doing to change their image? Sophia?
It's as you say. It's a very bad publicity problem we have. I know they've been talking with trying to get an agreement between all the sectors in the country, private sector, the media, the government, and all working together in trying to show the positive image of Honduras. So you can see now that the private sector is more engaged with the government in showing all the positive things, in working together. So it's a national consensus that is being done.
Well, let's just put it bluntly here. When people read all of this online, do we know what the truth is because we go there all the time? What do we have to do to ease their fears? I mean, I know that you're having an agency that's working. I was speaking with Mario yesterday about an agency that's going to be working with the government of Honduras. What would you suggest to these future clients and future people that want to visit Honduras? What would you suggest to them?
Let me add to what the ambassador said. On the beginning of April, I believe it was April 8th, if I don't forget exactly the date, but on April the 8th, for the first time in the history of the country, the president of Honduras declared tourism a priority of state. By doing that, what the president did, took it to the highest level, and now give tourism, the industry itself, all the components that it needs in order to better not only the country image, better the branding of the country, have more promotional funds, because at the end of the day, you need resources in order to be able to not, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say there's no crime in Honduras. There is crime. But if you know the crime, there's no crime targeted towards tourists. You've seen I mentioned the growth in Roatan, and I mentioned the growth on the north coast of Honduras. That growth, those airlines would be flying in, those cruise ships would be coming in, if the problem was to a point where their clients would be, unsafe. So by doing that, and you got to remember that the president took office January 27th of this year. 2 months later, he's declaring tourism a priority of state. and they're doing all the different things needed in order to better the situation from the standpoint of security. I mean, you're starting to see for the first time Honduras extradited a member of a drug cartel in a couple of weeks ago, which has never been done before. The president has reinforced police on the streets. We understand the severity and we understand the perception of insecurity that the country is facing, because obviously, like you're saying, you only get one side of the story. A lot of the crimes are targeted towards criminals that are involved in criminal activities, either be drugs, organized crime. But, we're doing everything possible. It's coming from the highest level. There's a fund that's already assigned to hire a PR firm that's going to guide the government in order to better its image, to better its whole branding scheme. Not only better the branding, but also do elements of promotion that will take that fear off people's mind. Because at the end of the day, they're only getting one side of the story. And I I ended with this. We're doing everything possible. You're starting to see major changes in Honduras. You're starting to see stuff that we didn't even think of maybe a couple of years ago. And this is coming from the highest level. There is a commitment from the highest level that has never been seen before. And I know for a fact the ambassador will also know this. The embassies, the consulates, in the United States and Canada, they have been given strict orders from the president himself that tourism promotion, confronting this is a priority. And you're going to start seeing different things, different strategies that are going to be recommended by this agency that is going to be in full effect in the next couple of months. And you're going to start seeing that.
Yes, and I know the government of Canada, they don't really have a travel advisory, but it's pretty close to it. If you go to it, they mention that there's crime in certain areas and so forth, but it also says tourists are not targeted, and that's something that people tend to skip over, that important fact that tourists are not targeted.
And I gave you some stats. I mean, if you look at the stats overall, you look at the growth that Roatan has, 900,000 plus cruise passengers. You're looking at American Airlines in the past 2 years has added 6 flights on a weekly basis to the island of Roatan. You look at the enhancement of flights that San Pedro has had, Tegucigalpa. Now you're looking at Trujillo with the expansion of this new terminal. You're looking at a new airport in Copan. I mean, and this is not the government. This is people who are investing in the country. This is the Carnival cruise lines of the world, the Royal Caribbeans, the American Airlines that are believing in destination, and they wouldn't be doing so if the crime was to a point where their clients again would be in danger.
Thank you for your answer.
Instead of withdrawing from the country, you can see through these years that they have increased the number of flights, the number of cruises going to Honduras.
Yeah. A question I have here, there's a few questions coming in now from the viewers all across Canada and the United States. I have a question from one of our community owners, Jerry Bush, and his question is, can you tell me anything about a railroad track that will compete with the Panama Canal? This is Jerry Bush from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yes, for Jerry, there are plans for building a dry canal that would cross all the country from the south part to Puerto Cortes, and the idea through the building of this canal is reducing the time. For example, the Panama Canal will be 24 hours less time to cross the Pacific to the Atlantic.
Okay, and that's great news.
It is a project that is being presented.
Sophia, if you can just speak up just a little bit on the next answer, because it's very difficult to hear you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, another question here is from Leonard Bush, another community member. Will there be resorts being built in the Bay Area of Trujillo, and when will this be in the works, if it is? Have you guys heard of any hotel chains that are interested in coming to Trujillo?
Well, you got to remember at Trujillo, there's investment right now with properties being built, sold. The cruise terminal has given this another different turn, and I wouldn't doubt that in the near future you're going to start seeing an interest, not only from international chains, but with the different elements that I mentioned about confronting crime, bettering the image of the country. You're going to see a lot of local investments start growing and start putting money into infrastructure, hotels. So I wouldn't doubt that Trujillo in the next couple of years, you're going to start seeing a lot of major developments, including hotels.
And back to the railway question. I have a question from Joe Bush again, not George Bush, Joe Bush. If that railway goes through, what kind of economic impact would that bring to Trujillo?
Well, I think it's hard to put it just in Trujillo, but if you look at the overall context of the whole country, I think the president has been very clear on his message. Make the country's #1 importer and exporter the ports in Honduras. With that said, that's going to bring tremendous economic growth to the country. There's a lot of commitment by the president to generate new jobs. He promised, if I'm not, doesn't fail me, I think it was 400,000 new jobs in 4 years, 100,000 new jobs on a yearly basis. And he knows that by doing these things and by bettering the tourism offer in the country, he's going to be able to, fulfill that promise that he made during the election process.
Okay, and speaking of exports, can you name a few exported items that Honduras is famous for?
Sure, one of the main Ambassador, please.
Go ahead, Sofia.
Coffee. We are one of the top producers of coffee in the country. You have bananas, you have tilapia, you have melons and watermelons, palm oil also.
Okay, thank you. I have a question here from Sean Daly. How long did it take for Roatan to grow where they are today, and how long have cruise terminals been there? And Sean is from Brantford, Ontario. Mario, if you'd like to answer that question.
Sure. Roatan's case is a little bit different because what happened in Roatan is that the private sector, before our government invested in tourism, the private sector was already investing in tourism. You have to look at some of the resorts that have been around in Roatan for more than 35 years. So it's been an ongoing effort. Obviously, the government comes into effect in the mid-'80s. The terminal, the pier in Roatan was built in 1998, before any cruise ships came in. It was built because they were on that saying that build it, they should come. So they went out and they looked for cruise ships. Finally, the first cruise line that came in was Norwegian Cruise Line in the mid-2000s, in the early 2000s. The government didn't have the capability financially to do a terminal, to enhance all that area. So what they did was in 2005, we did a private concession. It was a joint venture between the government and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. Within the concession agreements, it was the responsibility of Royal Caribbean to build the terminal, which is the terminal that we have right now. And that all triggered the growth in Roatan. Obviously, Carnival, which controls the majority part of the cruise industry, decided to build their own port, and their port was finished in late 2009. So those two elements, you have the two presidents of the two major cruise lines, and that's what triggered Roatan. That interest, if you look at Trujillo, the first cruise line they already confirmed is Norwegian. Norwegian was the pioneer in Roatan. So the formula repeats itself. Trujillo is in a good situation. All
right. Thank you. And a question here from another one of our community members from the NJOI Santa Fe Beach Residences. His name is Mike Labont from Red Deer, Alberta. His question is, does the government have an overall area structure plan for the North Coast in regards to tourism expansion with future growth strategies? Or will the growth be driven primarily by the developers? So does the government have a game plan on hand, or is the developers like ourselves moving the area of Trujillo along?
No, there is plans in effect, and if you look at one of the projects that just opened up in Tela, actually, it's a project that has been in the works for more than 30 years, which is the Tela Bay project. This is a resort, a legitimate 5-star resort. The project is called Endura. It just opened a couple of months ago. Government participated. Government put the land, put the infrastructure, the basic infrastructure. There was a private investment by not only, mostly by locals, local banks, local investors. So it was a game plan that was in effect for more than 30 years. Obviously, sometimes things don't move as rapidly as you want. There's a lot of conditions that change, economical situations change. The crisis, the economic crisis that affected us in this, in the North America and in the world in the mid 2007, 2008. Obviously, that kind of changed a little bit the plans that we had. But if you look at investments in the North Bay and in the North Coast, you're looking at probably a $60–70 million easily investment in Tela. You're looking at an equal or a little lesser value in Trujillo. La Ceiba is not staying far behind. La Ceiba is looking for different opportunities. Obviously, they understand that it has to be a joint venture between private and public. Public can't do it on their own, and the private can't do it on their own. So there is, and the government is always willing to hear and collaborate with things that make sense from a financial standpoint.
There was just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the mayor of Ceiba presented a project on some development they want to make in the city. So, additional to what Mario is saying, there are many of the areas around the north that are being targeted.
Question here is from John Eden from Bolton. Sorry, this is, sorry, 1 second here. Cindy and Bolton and John. They want to know if there's crime in Trujillo or is the crime in other parts of the country? That is their question. Maybe I could answer that question, being that I have a lot of experience in Trujillo. Trujillo is one of the safest cities in all of Honduras. There's only 30,000 fishermen and farmers that live there. If you visit Trujillo, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying, and that's why so many of our clients have purchased in the area from Canada and the United States. It is one of the safest cities in all of Honduras. There are pockets of crime, like we tell everyone, in pockets of San Pedro Sula and Tegucigalpa, and I have never seen those pockets because just like in any country, including ours, you have to know where to go and where not to go. Okay, so I don't know if you want to add to that, Sophia?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. There are some areas in my country and in every country in the world where you're not supposed to go. And in additional to what you're saying in Trujillo, I used to go there every year. It's one of the most beautiful places. And we were younger, so my parents would always feel safe to let us wander around the beach night and day. Nothing ever happened to us.
And that hasn't changed one bit, Sophia. That's one thing we see when we come down with all our clients is you see little kids walking the streets just like it used to be back in the day. And that's a beautiful thing to see because you certainly don't see that here in Canada. But when you go to Trujillo, it reminds you of the days gone by, for sure.
That's right. That's right. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's very friendly and welcome you like we know you all the time.
Well, yeah, I was with Tom and Sue Sherlock in Trujillo last week, and it was about 6:30 at night, and it was dark, and about 4 or 5 kids were walking the streets. I had a pickup truck. I pulled over. They jumped in, and I drove them to the town of Santa Fe. And that's what people do there. I mean, there's no such thing as hitchhikers. Everybody's a big community over there.
That's right.
So I have a question. I have a question here for Sophia. This is from J.S. Gill. I assume we can only stay in the country for 90 days at a time. Can this be extended? And if we want to stay longer, or do we have to leave the country? Also, is there plans in the future to allow dual citizenship for a non-citizen? So 2 questions there. Sophia?
So yes, you are allowed to stay 90 days. You can go to the migration officer closer to you to ask for an extension. And then you have to leave the country and then come back if you are planning to stay more time.
Okay, because to my understanding that after 90 days, you can go to the municipality, get your passport stamped, and they give you an extension for an additional 90 days. I've seen this happen already, so just want to reconfirm that that's the case, that you don't have to leave the country. Is that the case, Sofia?
Yes, that's right. You have to ask for the extension. You have to go and justify, but you have to present yourself to the migration office to request the extension.
All right. Thank you. I have a question here from Mike McLeod from Airdrie, Alberta. And the question is, please share with us the presence of various faiths and churches in Trujillo. Are you guys able to answer that question about different types of faiths and churches in Trujillo?
Well, I think the Catholic is the main religion in Honduras, the majority, but he's looking for different denominations. That's what he's asking, right?
Yes.
What kind of denomination? Yeah, and there's a lot of evangelical churches, I'm pretty sure, throughout Trujillo. Different denominations, Baptists, a combination of it. But you see a lot, probably Catholics, probably is the majority. But there is a growing, you know, from all different evangelical denominations as well. So Trujillo is not an exception. And you start to see that not only in Trujillo but throughout the country itself. A lot of churches in San Pedro. I'm from San Pedro. In Tegucigalpa, La Ceiba, even in Roatan, you know, even in Roatan, I was there a couple of weeks ago, and you'd be surprised how many new churches are up and running, operating in Roatan. You know.
Thank you. I do have a question which I believe was pretty much answered previously, but I'll ask it again. Does the government, this is from Patricia Cerrato, does the government have any plans to grow industry other than tourism to improve the life of residents?
Yes, definitely. There's different sectors that are of government priority. There's infrastructure, there's energy produced by natural resources.
So natural resources, and again, are they planning on, you mentioned previously that the government is opening up thousands and thousands of jobs, and that's their goal right now. What would those jobs be exactly, Sofia, just as an example?
Well, for example, there's quite a number of projects, infrastructure projects, building roads. Imagine the amount of jobs that can be created with highways being built. Just now, through a public-private partnership, the road from Tegucigalpa to San Pedro, there's some areas that are going to be built. It's I think it's a Peruvian company, and they're investing more than $200 million just in building some roads in that area. And we also have projects in renewable energy, building more hydro plants or wind-powered energy plants. And we even have many Canadian companies interested in projects in Honduras. There's also the mining sector. Honduras has a huge mining potential. And as I say again, there are many Canadian companies interested in the mining industry in Honduras.
A question, thank you, Sofia. A question here from Jerry Bush from Edmonton. What would be the best bank to deal with for a Canadian in Honduras? Maybe if you guys can talk about a few major banks in Honduras.
Well, there's a lot of banks. Some of them that have been around longer. Obviously, their credibility is very high. Banks like Banco Atlantida is one, very good.
Which you'll find downtown Trujillo. We have a Banco Atlantida. Sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
There's also Banco Ficticio, which is already present in some area in Guatemala and Panama. There's also BAC, which is in Miami, all Central America. It's owned by a Colombian group. So all of the banks in the country have huge credibility, and they've been there for many, many years.
Okay, thank you.
And banking has become a lot easier nowadays than many years ago. So
Yes.
doing different banking transactions has become easier, either transferring or depositing, withdrawing money from an ATM machine. You know, that's all been enhanced. A lot of these banks, or all the banks, are pretty much linked to the same networks. So it's become a lot easier.
Thank you. I have a question here from Shannon from Burlington, Ontario. And her question is, are there any incentives or grants for us to start a tourist-related business? Sophia?
I know there's some incentives for some industries. I'm not sure for tourism related.
I know because of our lawyer, Roberto Bogran from the capital city. Roberto Bogran mentioned to us that to help answer that question, yes, you can apply for a touristic grant, and what they will do is they will make you tax-free for 10 years as long as your business has to do with tourism. So if you'd like, you can email me and I can help you out with the right people to talk to. My email address is Gino, Gino, at NJOITrujillo.com, and we can help you out there, Shannon. Our next question here is from Ken Fraser from Brandon, Manitoba. So hello to our friends from Brandon, Manitoba. Has there been any study done on the average cost of living for retirees that move to Honduras? Excellent question. Sophia? No studies, right? No studies. Okay.
Yeah, there's not actually a study.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you look at the overall layout of the country, there's certain areas where the cost of living is higher. I can tell you this straight off the bat. You got to remember, if you're living on an island, in the case of Roatan, for example, everything is imported. They have to bring everything from mainland. Everything has a markup, 15, 20%. Cost of living is higher, obviously housing. If you look at where retirees are retiring, that could tell you that something of the cost of living is still manageable, especially in the North Coast. So I will start off, anywhere from Trujillo, La Ceiba, Tela. Great climate. The cost of living is low if you compare it to other parts of the country, and even if you compare it to other countries in Central America itself too. So there's no study, but I can tell you that in those areas there's a lot of people that are living off, anywhere between $800 and $1,200 on a monthly basis.
And I can go a step further. Mary, I can go a step further.
There are general surveys being done by the Instituto Nacional de Estadística, and they have a web page. It's called INE, and INE. So they did a very powerful study, I think 2 years ago, and you can find huge statistics there. Economy, demographic information, and everything. So it could be a useful tool.
And the company is called INE?
Yeah, it's government. It's from the government.
Okay.
INE.
INE.
National Institute of Statistics.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that input. I want to let everyone know that in Trujillo, with our experience so far, you really can live for like about $500 a month. Everything is a fraction of the cost in Trujillo, being that everything is organic. There's all the farmers and the fishermen. Everything's brought fresh to the market daily. So it really doesn't cost much to live there. And you can live very, very comfortably with your Canadian pension in Trujillo, that's for sure. For example, our homeowners association fees for ourselves, for example, will be approximately only $100 a month, and that includes security and maintenance, property taxes.
We pay more for cell phone here.
Yes, I know that.
Yes.
And property taxes for the year in Trujillo, and this is great. This is great for our clients. It's only $60 a year.
Wow.
On
$60 a year?
Yes, on an empty lot. And then when you build your home, you're looking at approximately $300 a year with the home built on that lot. So again, you're living for a fraction of the price in Trujillo, Honduras.
It's a great opportunity in a beautiful area.
Now, I'm going to keep moving with the questions here. Let's see here. Mike McCloy from Airdrie, Alberta. We've answered this question just previously. He wants to know if there's a Catholic church in Trujillo. There is, downtown Trujillo. Oh, sorry. I think Jerry Bush, I erased your question. If you can ask that question again, I apologize. Gregorio Gonzalez, the one-time stay is 90 days. Would leaving the country and coming back give you an extra 90-day period? And if so, could you do this several times over? We did answer that question as well, Gregorio. You can just go to the municipality and get your passport stamped, and most likely they will allow you another 90-day stay in the country. Okay, Mike Labont from Red Deer, Alberta. Has there been any Canadian banks approach the idea of opening banks in Honduras? Great question. Sophia?
Yes. And a couple of years ago, Scotiabank was interested in buying what is now back. It used to be owned by GE Consumer, 51% they own, and it was put to sale to market, and Scotiabank was one of the banks interested. It was at the end bought by the Colombian group, but yes, there have been some.
Okay. I have a question here from Phil and Suzanne Borbis. If there are no immediate plans for an international airport to Trujillo, can you please explain the infrastructure plans for improving the time of travel on the road system from La Ceiba to Trujillo? We have heard through others that there are many checkpoints along the way, and it's very time-consuming for this trip due to the road conditions, etc. Julie and Ken Stackley from Ennismore, Ontario.
Sure. With the new transport in Trujillo, you're going to start seeing the infrastructure in the surroundings a lot better, getting better. One of the reasons is because where the cruise ships make their money, the majority of their money, is through excursions, the different products that are sold. Trujillo easily could sell product also, or the cruise lines could sell easily product from La Ceiba. So that's going to force pretty much the authorities in La Ceiba and the central government to better the infrastructure and better the different ways of connecting, because the cruise ships there are only there for an X amount of hours, between 6 and 8 hours. So the faster you get them to the spot where they need to go, the more money they're spending, the better it is for everybody. So you're going to start seeing a lot of better road system. They're revamping the whole security scheme. You're going to start seeing different moves within the security system. So you're not going to have to see that many roadblocks anymore or cops pulling you over. They're reinforcing that. So all that, you're going to start seeing things done differently in the next couple of months.
And not only that, they are building another road along the coastline from La Ceiba all the way into Trujillo, and that's going to cut the time by half. So right now it takes approximately 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes to get to Trujillo from La Ceiba. Once they finish this road, it's going to be approximately 1 hour to get to Trujillo. And then on top of that, Lanza Airlines has just announced 2 flights a week on Mondays and Fridays from La Ceiba into Trujillo, starting at 6 in the morning and again at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's a quick flight now from La Ceiba into Trujillo.
That's right.
I have a question here from Sean Daly. What are the plans with downtown Trujillo once the cruise ships start coming in? Mario or Sophia, have you heard of any plans on what they're planning on doing with the downtown core, or no?
Well, the municipality is exploring different options because obviously they know that this is going to take off. So I haven't personally seen any plans yet. I don't know if the ambassador has seen any plans, but bettering the offer again. You want to have satisfied customers at all times, because they understand that those X amount of cruise passengers that get there are more liable to return if they like what they see. And it's no secret to anybody that as a cruise passenger, you could only spend so much on one day. But if you return and you spend a couple of nights there, obviously the cost is higher of spending. So that's what you want to do. That's what you strive for in the cruise industry, is to have passengers return. And you do that by bettering the offer, the overall offer, downtown, better restaurants, better hotels, better infrastructure, the roads. You mentioned the roads connecting to La Ceiba in 1 hour. It's going to be able to give the cruise lines the option of sell river rafting, for example, in La Ceiba, where there is no river rafting in Trujillo. So all those elements are going to start playing, and I'm pretty sure the municipalities are exploring on different things to do in order to better the offer.
What is the main difference between Because everybody talks about, you know, the same countries over and over again when it comes to retirement destinations. And I know from my experience in the last 2 to 3 years, Honduras is starting to become, is starting to get on people's radar. What is it about Honduras that makes it great compared to other countries? Sofia? Can you hear me? Sorry, we lost connection.
Yeah, they can't hear you.
Okay, Mario, what is it about Honduras that makes Honduras great? If somebody would come to visit, what are some of the things that you can do in the country of Honduras?
Well, some of the things that we're starting to see in a lot of the surveys that are done, that we do at the airports, that the tourism board does at the airport. A lot of surveys, you know, you ask people, you know, what was their overall experience, and they'll mention things like very friendly, love the culture, the cuisine, easy to move around. You know, those are all factors. It's not costly. You know, when you compare it to other destinations, the cost is not very high. You can stay in good areas for very reasonable price. The cost of living, again, is if you're living there, the cost of living, it's good. So all those elements, Honduras is very diverse. The option of being one day in a beach and the next day in an archaeological site and the next day, you know, hiking through a rainforest, all those elements make Honduras a very unique destination. And, you know, and overall the warmth of the people. I think that's one of the things that sticks out in a lot of surveys, that the warmth, how people make you feel right at home, are all elements that make people want to come and stay and return.
I'm going to ask you a few more questions before we sign off here. Medical care in Honduras. Can you talk a little bit about how great the medical care is there in your country?
Can the ambassador hear us, or?
Sofia, can you hear us?
I heard you, yes. Well, regarding medical care, we have the advantage that there's public and there's private health. So people are free and have free access to both of them. It's obviously, I think Trujillo has the public hospital, I'm sorry. And from what I understand, there's a very good service at the hospital. You have doctors there. I know that if it's a very severe or emergency, then you have to move the patient to another area. And but again, the health system, I believe, is very convenient because you have access to both systems.
And there's also plenty of private clinics as well that will open at any time of the night. And we've had our experience calling a private clinic at midnight, and they opened up right away, gave our client full physical with results in 2 hours, which is pretty impressive that they actually got their results the same night.
You know, it's one of the things that I miss from back home. Having my kid sick at whatever time in the morning, 2 a.m., and being able to call my doctor and have him check or go to them, or even by phone. So it's a very big advantage that I found.
And some doctors even make house calls too.
Oh yes.
So that's not something that we're typical to see here in the. I'm in Miami, and calling a doctor, if you call him outside of hours, he's not going to pick up the phone anyway.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question now from Shannon from Burlington, Ontario. Is there any immediate plans to put a ferry in from Roatan to Trujillo to help get vacationers into the town?
Well, as you know, there's a ferry between Trujillo and Roatan. I mean, sorry, La Ceiba and Roatan, sorry. There hasn't been any talks. Obviously, if the demand starts growing, somebody's gonna have, take the initiative. Most likely private sector, because those investments are done by the private sector. And I don't see why not. If the demand grows and the product could be combined, like it is now. Let me tell you, a lot of these cruise ships that are making the Trujillo stop, the port call in Trujillo, are coming from Roatan. So you're starting to see a combination of combining Roatan and Trujillo. So the ferry is just the next step and just around the corner once we have the demand there. Just like it was in La Ceiba. I'll give you a perfect example. Utila, many years ago, didn't have a ferry service. But the demand started growing. Somebody took the initiative. Now you have a daily ferry from La Ceiba to Utila and back because the demand is there. So at the end of the day, what dictates a lot of the investments and a lot of the, if you put a ferry, if you open up an airport or whatever it might be, is to create a demand needed in order to guarantee that it's going to be a prosperous business. Because nobody who makes an investment of that nature is going with the mentality to lose money. Obviously, make money. So those are elements that are weighed in once the demand starts growing.
Thank you very much. I have a question here from Mike McLeod from NJOI, Alberta. He would like to know were you guys both were you born and raised in Honduras, and if so, where? Sofia?
Yes, I was born and raised in Honduras, in Tegucigalpa, the capital.
In the capital.
Lived there all my life.
Sorry?
I've lived in Tegucigalpa all my life.
And yourself, Mario?
I was born in Honduras. My parents moved to the States when I was 2 years old, and actually I grew up since the age of 2. I grew up in the States. I go back quite a bit. I was there last week, and every time I go, and I say it with all humility here, Honduras is a fascinating country. And I grew up in the States, and I remember going every summer, and those were the best summers ever because the nature, going out, spending with family, everything is very family-driven in Honduras, which you don't see the case here because we live such a hectic life, a lot of stress, everybody's walking in and out, but yeah, I grew up here, but I go back quite a bit to Honduras, and I'm from from the city of San Pedro Sula, which is the industrial capital of the country.
That's the one thing we tell all of our clients when you come to Honduras and Trujillo. It seems like time just stops. Everything just stops, and you get to breathe and relax and live the life the way it's supposed to be at the end of the day.
That's right.
Enjoy the day is longer too.
Just watch the waves come by. It's beautiful.
I have a couple more questions here, and if you guys can answer, what type of wildlife can one see in Honduras?
I was, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I went into one of the national parks. I took my kids. It was an unbelievable experience for them. It was like watching National Geographic or something. If you looked up, you would see those wild monkeys, and then some amazing spiders, and a boa running just wrapped around in a tree. So everywhere you would look, there's this blue crab, right? You can see it in Trujillo.
Yes, we've seen them there before.
Things, my kids were very impressed because you would only see those things on TV or on a book.
Yeah, so I know the national bird in Honduras is the scarlet macaw, and so there's a lot of parrots and a lot of monkeys. So a lot of wildlife. I believe there's over 700 bird species in Honduras itself. So tons and tons of wildlife. And I guess my last question here is foods. What can one expect to enjoy when they come to Trujillo, Honduras, or in other places in Honduras? What type of foods do you have in Honduras?
Everything. You'll enjoy everything. The beans, the fried beans, the tortillas. We have special cheese, tamales, the chicharrones from Finca del Carmen or that area in NJOI. The fish, right? Going by the lake and eating the fried fish with the plantains, the yuca. Of course, the coffee, you can't miss that.
The question that I have here is, how long is the drive from San Pedro to Trujillo? Mario?
It'll take you roughly about 4+ hours.
Yeah.
I did that ride quite a bit from from San Pedro down to La Ceiba and sometimes to Trujillo. So yeah, it's about 4+ hours, depending on who's driving, how many stops you make. But that's what it takes you normally, anywhere between 4 and 5 hours.
We would drive to Trujillo from Tegucigalpa with my parents and my cousins and everybody. But yeah, of course, you would make various stops just to enjoy the view and the country. But it's as Mario says, it's.
Which begs the question: is it safe to drive around the country as a foreigner?
You know, you take certain precautions, obviously, when you travel, not only Honduras but throughout Central America and throughout any country that you're not familiar with. Because what happens is our roads at night, it's no secret, they don't have the illumination that we have here. So we do certain recommendations, daytime driving only, because those roads tend to get fairly dark at night. And if you follow those recommendations, you have no problem. There's constant movement in those main roads, cars coming back and forth. I've never heard of anybody having a problem besides just the normal problems, flat tire, an accident, an accident or whatever it might be. But there's no problems. I would dare to say that between San Pedro and La Ceiba is probably one of the best conditioned roads that we have in the country right now. It's fantastic. I went to Tela last week, and I drove from Tela's just in between La Ceiba and San Pedro. It took me an hour, 10 minutes, but the road is fantastic. I mean, so, again, you follow certain precautions that you follow anywhere where you're not familiarized with the road system. And I say this, sometimes when we travel, and it's no secret to nobody, sometimes when we travel, and I include myself in this list, we tend to forget common sense. We tend to do things we normally don't do at our own homes or in our own cities. It's very romantic walking down a deserted beach at 2 o'clock in the morning holding hands with your loved one. It's very romantic. But I wouldn't do that here in Miami Beach because you become an easy target. Yet we go to Honduras or we go to anywhere in the world and we want to do it. And again, my advice is always follow common sense, follow stuff that you do at your house. Make sure to ask. Everybody's there to help. I mean, you're going to find that if you ask somebody, they're going to be honest and say, listen, don't take this road, take this road. There's a shorter route or wherever it might be. So if you follow those guidelines, you should have no problem at all.
Do you need an international driver's license to drive in Honduras, or is a Canadian driver's license sufficient enough? This question's from Patricia Cerrato from Vaughan, Ontario.
I just did the trip, and I travel or I ride with my local Florida license. The only thing that you're required to have is my Florida license and your passport. And the reason why is because you only given an X amount of time to be able to use that license. So on your passport, it states the date you came in. So those are the only 2 conditions that you need, because if you don't have your passport, what happens is the police officer doesn't know how long you've been in the country. So I would, and I'm pretty sure the ambassador could elaborate on that, probably the recommendation there would be to drive. You can drive with your Canadian license, but have your passport with you.
That's right.
Okay. I have a question here from John Eden. He's talking about the shops at the cruise ship terminal. Have they been rented out? I was just there with our clients just this past week, and the shops are not all rented out. So if you're looking for space, they do have a promotion going on right now, and they have dropped their prices. And I believe it's $20 per square foot to rent out space at the cruise ship terminal. So if you are an entrepreneur, this is a great time to get involved when you're going to have like thousands and thousands of passengers walking by your doors thanks to the cruise ships coming in. Okay, and if you need more information, you can email me at gino@njoitrujillo.com. A question here from Leonard Bush. What's the average time frame to get your residency? And once you get it, can you stay in Honduras as long as you want? Leonard Bush from Edmonton, Alberta. Sophia?
I'm sorry, I did not catch.
What's the average time frame to get your residency? How long does it take to get your residency, and can you live in the country while you wait?
Yeah, well, it's even one of the requirements that you have to stay in the country. You have to reside in the country for a period of time. The time frame, I guess it would all depend on and having all the paperwork ready whenever you do, and not being handing papers one at a time and then back and forth, right? So, but I believe it takes a couple of months.
I read somewhere it takes anywhere between 3 to 8 months to receive your residency, and you have to get the ball rolling at the Honduran embassy in Ottawa. Is that the case, Sofia? To get things started, they have to contact the Honduran embassy?
Yes, yes. I didn't catch all of your question, Gino, but yes, you have to contact us because there's some paperwork we need to do for you.
Can you repeat your the email
every
address?
paper you need and the process. Because some paperwork, for example, the Canadian government requires that it be previous to our authentication. So it's best to communicate with us so we can explain all of that.
Okay, do you have an email address that you'd like to share so that people can email to get their residency?
Yes, my email is ambassador@embassyhonduras.ca.
So that's one more time, Sofia. Can you repeat that?
Yes, it's ambassador@embassyhonduras.ca.
At Embassy Honduras.
Ambassador@embassyhonduras.ca.
And
you can also check our webpage, embassyhonduras.ca.
Okay, I've sent that out to everybody right now. A few more questions before we wrap things up. Gregorio Gonzalez, I know the first ship is expected October 15th in Trujillo. Is it going to be weekly, or what is the number of times per week a ship will be in the port? Mario?
Yeah, right now the information that we have is once a week. I believe it's going to be on a Wednesday. I'm not too sure. I don't have the itinerary with me, but right now it's just once a week right now. There's 11 port calls by NCL, which is Norwegian, and there's an additional 16 port calls by Holland America, which is the other cruise line that's going to be coming in. So probably in some of the weeks you're going to have two, one from NCL and one from Holland, but in certain weeks there's only going to be one port call.
Perfect. And just to wrap things up here tonight, we thank you for your time, both Mario Aguiar and Sofia Cerrato. What would you tell all the Canadians that are tuning in either right now or in the future when they watch this on YouTube? What would you tell Canadians and Americans about your country? Why should they invest or why should they retire in Honduras? Sofia, we'll start with you.
Well, Honduras is a beautiful country. You can see it through the pictures in your webpage. You can see it through the pictures of our own National Tourism Institute. It's a beautiful country, and as Mario was saying, you can be in the beach today. Tomorrow you can be in the rainforest, and then go to the Mayan ruins. There's so much history, so much culture. The people are very friendly, and we all welcome you to our country. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the climate. And just come and take a look and give us a chance. We really love it. You'll want to stay.
Mario?
Well, I echo the message that the ambassador is saying, just to add that, it's never been our goal to be #1 destination or in numbers, but to have a quality destination where people want to come back. And you have cases where you see families that come back 4, 5, 6, 7 times during a 10-year span because they like what they saw, they like the warmth of the people. So I dare you to try. Honduras has so much to offer. It's hard to showcase everything in a short span, or even by here or by pictures or whatever it might be. But I dare you to come down. It has a lot more than what you ever envisioned, and I'm pretty sure that once you come down the first time, you're gonna like it and you're gonna want to stay. So, and there's a lot of cases, and if for the Canadian market, you're going to start seeing a lot of different promotional stuff that you're going to start seeing beaches roll by in buses or in a cold railroad station. But, you know, I dare you come down, you're going to see, and everything that the ambassador says is going to become a reality.
Perfect. Thank you very much once again. I'd like to thank both Mario Aguiar, who's promotional director for the government of Honduras, working out of Miami, Florida. And I'd like to thank our special guest again tonight, Sofia Cerrato, the ambassador of Honduras out of Ottawa, Canada. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we hope that all of the listeners and viewers that tune in tonight visit the beautiful country of Honduras in the near future, and specifically Trujillo, where we are, and you guys can join us anytime. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, please email me at Gino, G-I-N-O, at NJOITrujillo.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. And again, you have Sofia Cerrato's email address, as she mentioned a few times on the program. And Mario, if you'd like to give out your email address, if anybody has some questions for you as well, go ahead.
Sure. My email address is my first initial from RM, my last name AGUIRRE at the letter IHT India Hotel Thomas .HN, H Harry and Nancy. I also want to share with you a toll-free number that we have in the office. So if you have any questions and you feel better and you want to talk, you can call us at 1-800-410-9608, and you can reach us from anywhere from the U.S. and Canada as well.
Thank you very much, guys. Your continued support, not only our project, but support of the country here in Canada, and your support with answering all questions with all that our clients have for you has been much appreciated. So thank you very much for joining us here tonight on the program. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, and please email us anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.